Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast.
This leg belongs in a museum. I'm not actually gonna. We will get Well, we will get flagged.
Yeah, we
What's
might
up,
we might have
everyone?
already got flagged from that, but we'll see.
I didn't actually smack it.
Yeah,
What up, everyone? Tis I, Ryan Neo Wayne, alongside Joe King, and this is the penultimate episode, right before the finale of Survivor 48. And this one, we won't really have confessional counts for this, would we?
I have them.
All right, cool. But yeah, so we're doing it right after we watched it because we were both watching it live. And like, Joe and I were texting throughout it, and then I was like, you know what? Let's just do it right now because we were already talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Normally, I'm at my place where the time, like for some reason, Paramount Plus has like a thing where it lets me watch it at 7 p.m. and you have to watch it at 8 p.m. even though we're in the same states. But now for some reason I'm dog sitting, which is just like 30 minutes away, and now I'm on your schedule of watching it. So now we actually can watch it at the same time.
I don't know,
It
which
makes
is
no sense.
it doesn't because it's like it's the same state. I know like some states don't recognize daylight savings time, but at the same time, like you said, I don't know. Maybe it's just like a zoning thing.
No idea.
Regardless, but yeah, this episode actually had some interesting stuff. I think the thing is with Shaheen's elimination, I think there's some hear me outs. I don't, like I still think it's obvious Joe was winning,
What do you
but
mean?
there's there's some hear me outs going into this
Okay,
finale. They're not
okay.
great. They're called hear me outs. They're not called, oh, look at this. This is totally like, like all the math is mathing. They're
Mm.
hear me outs.
I'm hearing you out. Go ahead. Do it.
Well, we got to talk about the episode first, and
Yeah.
then once we do all of that, we got to talk about, you know, going into the finale, who's positioned where and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm very curious to see what you took in this way to be any other way than Joe's winning. And I think if you're looking at like a gameplay move, yes, what Kyle and Camilla did this episode in theory makes sense. It's just done way too fucking late for it to matter that you're making this move now.
I think the tough thing is about this move, it was a move.
Yeah.
They finally made a move. However, it wasn't the biggest move they could have made. And I'm not
No.
just talking about even when Joe won immunity and stuff like that. I understand Kyle's trepidation in going in, like, oh, well, we vote off Eva, then Joe is there. And then, I get that. However, it's like, well, now Eva's going in. All she has to do is play her idol on herself, or if she wins, plays it on Joe.
Yeah.
Um,
Which will
because
happen.
I don't see her turning on him at all.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's interesting because it's like, like we start out this episode and we started off like, hey, we're doing a reward challenge. And then we start seeing well, when we start out, it's like Mitch is like, okay, now I'm ready to make a move. And, and then we see Camilla just like, now I want to make a move. Camilla, my bad. I know
Yeah.
my yeah, my roommate keeps talking about some girl named Camilla uh all the time.
Airing out the laundry here. If she somehow is a watcher of this podcast.
Sorry, John. Anyway, uh but no, so it's like everyone is like, like the two, they're like, all right, it's time. And then Shaheen, he's chilling on the hammock, and then Mitch is like, now's the time. And then Shaheen is just like, bro, I'm chilling. I can beat Joe at the end. No cap.
Yeah, super delusional. At least that's what it seems like from what we've been shown. Is that there's no way if like if Joe's at the end, like there's everyone's talking about how he's winning the game. So it's like at this point, if you say I can sit next to Joe at the end and win, it just does not seem like a good
Yeah. Yeah. I don't fully get it there. I do feel like this episode we saw some cracks in Joe in the sense of like, okay, in the sense of Kyle did play Joe,
look.
or he did.
Yeah.
Kyle and Camilla. I don't know why this is twice I said this.
we
It's
we
the
we ha-
double L's.
we've made it so many episodes into this season, and now suddenly you can't say her name right.
It's blame. Damn you, John, for doing this to me. And
Uh, yeah,
anyway,
I do agree that yes, they did play it. However, I still feel like in the edit position, they still try to make Joe seem like he knew that he might be getting played, which seemed
he
very
did.
much like pro Joe. Like even though like what ends up happening, Joe ends up flipping and getting fooled and everything like this. The edit still was trying to like have the pros of Joe in this move.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is like it wasn't a bad episode for Joe. It's not like where David, where I would say there were some like scenes that kind of reminded me of some David stuff.
Mhm.
However, like there was a thing where he's like, grilling Shaheen, like, and playing the dad card, and like Joe is very well aware that maybe Kyle is lying. So like he's like not being fully sunken into this, but he's also like, if what Kyle said was true, and Shaheen, and you did all this with Shaheen, it's like, is this really what you want to do? Now, granted, like the thing is, it's like Eva has an idol; she could play it. They even said like, yeah, if Shaheen plays his idol, play yours. Um, but it's like we kind of saw him start to get like the paranoia get the best of him, even when he's already safe. And I feel like that's something that both Camilla and Kyle could potentially use against him at Final Tribal.
Yeah, not even trying to correct that one. Camilla. uh, yeah,
Damn it! Did I do it again?
you did. It's going to be the new thing. Her name says Camilla, apparently.
I'm sorry. I had work today.
Yeah,
That might play a factor.
and we're doing
Um,
this late, so we're not used to recording. At 9:48.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
but I
and
mean, yeah, it was as I said, it's a good move in theory. It's just way too late. If they had made this move to turn on Shaheen at 10 or 9, it'd be good because Joe still has a long runway of you being able to get him. You're now in a situation where you have to get Joe at 5. Otherwise, he wins the game because he's going to get the 4, win fire. He has to. He's there. He's
he,
locked.
he has potential to break the
Yeah,
record that has been there since 2001.
yeah,
24 years.
yeah.
That's older than Eva.
I mean, even if he just wins one immunity, that's still tying it. And
He ties the record, yes.
yeah,
But he in theory, he could break it. And I
yeah,
feel like he's well positioned to do that. I say a lot of people they hit that 5 near the end as well. Like, it's like, oh, they win like 2 or something in a row in the finale and stuff, and then they hit that 5 or something like that. So it's like it is very, very possible that he can break this record. Um,
I feel really confident that he's winning 5. Like I see that that's his best way, and Ed has just told us that he's winning. So I just am going in knowing he's winning at least final 5 immunity. Final 4 could be up in the air a little bit. I think that there's a good chance that we do maybe get a Kyle Camilla fire making challenge. They've been this duo that no one sees coming. Oh my gosh, it's so secretive. No one knows
they
about
they
Kyle
mention
and
it
Camilla
every single episode. To be
at
fair,
least
we
5
thought
times.
we thought that it was going to be revealed way sooner in the game, but like they've been able to like hang in there for it.
I feel like
Um,
people just don't care on the season. That this season is a season full of people who are just like mindlessly kind of going through herd mentality. Um, Mary and her exit
except
and
this episode, they did finally do something. Even if it's too late, it's like, well, I mean, like, I feel like the end game is very, the end game, I know what we're talking about now. It's because I'd say there's merit for Mitch because, like, he was on the bottom and he has that underdog narrative going for him. Um, Eva, I don't know. I feel like with Eva, she can talk about different stuff throughout the game and stuff like that, and how she had safety. And even though she had that idol, she was never a target. Like there's some things she can say. Joe, obviously has the strongest argument. I would say like the one thing, and we've seen this happen in like orcs and stuff, where it's like, oh, you had to win so many immunities. If you didn't do that, do you think you'd still be there? He could be tripped up by that question if it is asked. But like in his thing, he'd be like, no, even when I was vulnerable, people didn't want to turn on me. So he can, like it might trip him up, but he does have a solid response right there. Kyle could be like, hey, I was able to manipulate stuff and still keep true to my word. And then also there is, and I was able to make moves on people that were trying to make moves. With Camilla, uh, she can also be like, I was kind of a mixture of Kyle and Mitch, where I had to, I was not in in the strong group and stuff like that, but because I had an in with Kyle, I was able to navigate and make decisions with him while still being on the bottom and not having to be in that alliance. I feel like, and that's what I'm saying. That's my hear me out. Each one of them, I think, can present a case. Though I do think if Joe makes it to the end, he will have the strongest case. However, the other four contestants do have, like if they present themselves correctly, have a way to win.
man, I wish that they edited this season the way that you were describing it right there, Ryan, because we could actually have a compelling case here in the end. But man, this episode, I'll just tell you, Kyle had a 0% chance of winning the game based off of this episode. Even though gameplay wise, I have nothing too bad against him on this episode. It is the fact that on the loved ones reward, his thing got basically glossed over. It's a small little section, and Joe gets this huge, giant edits of him and his emotional story going on
Yeah.
there. And then, second thing that happened that you would not do to your winner is while he's giving an answer at tribal council, you say, fuck this guy. We're going to barely listen to him now. We're now going to Joe and just going to, he's not going to say anything. He's just going to look. He's just going to think. And that is more interesting than what this player is saying right now.
No, I think it's a mixture. I think one, editors wanted to do something. I
They
think,
wouldn't do that to a
yeah,
winner.
it's not a good sign. However, I do want to say because of how they were framing the episode, and it is interesting because, well, Joe wins immunity, so he ultimately becomes the swing vote, if he knew it or not. And Eva, they became the swing vote, even though like because it's like, all right, do we believe in Kyle or do we believe in Shaheen? And then it's like, so if those votes went to Mitch, if this went to that, it'd been a different story. Um, but yeah, so it's one of those things where he was like looking and he was making sure if he believed the stuff that they were saying or if they're giving any ticks or something like that. I will say there's another thing Joe did when he was talking to them where he was like, I look at body language, I do this, I do
Mm-hmm.
that. So much of the times he talks, he's not even looking at them. He's like, all right, let me see this straight. So you're saying that this, and this. And then they'll be like, yeah. And he doesn't even look in their direction. I'm like, you're supposed to be reading body. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else is there to say about the season still. I don't know. I'm so done. The season has made me just so frustrated. Like
There are, yeah.
even when Shaheen, which in theory should have shocked and moved the game. I still don't see it actually changing anybody's fate in this game. I feel like I predicted Shaheen going out at 6. I sent you the list like a while ago, and I assumed he was going to go out at 6. So for me, even though it's like, oh, they did something, it just feels like they did a worse version of a move they could have done. 'Cause even Eva would have been just a
Yes.
better move for them.
Who would have been?
Eva.
Yes. Eva would have been the better move.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, all right, we can only base it off of what they actually did. And I see why Kyle didn't want to make that thing because Joe would be bitter if it went down like that specifically. I don't know. I feel like right now the end game is messy because like they made a move, but they didn't make the strongest move. Like Shaheen was like, okay, we were able to control the vote and stuff like that. However, she just gave her a chance at Final Four, basically.
Yeah.
There's like no ifs, and or but. It's like, all right, that was an opportunity that you didn't take. Taking her out would have made more sense. And they could have even done it in a 3-2-1 vote too,
Yeah.
where I was like, but they didn't. And I think part of it was they still wanted to preserve that trust and everything with Joe and Eva. Um, so I think that played a factor into it. The thing is, it's like right now when you're that close to the end game, and we're so used to seeing like, okay, people starting to turn and make those moves that they didn't do the strongest move was a little bit because like, yeah, you made a move, but why not at this point go for broke if you don't think you can win against Joe?
Yeah. They don't know how to play Survivor. What can I say? This cast is very subpar, and I've been saying this now for a very long time. They just don't have the game sense to actually understand like numbers and where they are in the game because they've been told that there's this very easy path and they just didn't know when to get off of it. And now when they're getting off of it, they don't know how to play Survivor, so they don't know what the best moves are because they're just blinded by like how to play. They basically started playing Survivor on day 23. Like a lot of these players, like they had not had to really play that hard. It's been a very easy path of the merge, and it's just like we're seeing it. We're seeing inexperience in the season.
I think you make valid points. I think the biggest thing is it hasn't been like such a strategic season in the sense of like it's been very straightforward. And whenever we do see them do it, when they do make like a move, because getting rid of David was a move, but that was also like, okay, David was kind of like imploding a little bit, so it made sense. This one was better than the David one, and it's a move, but it wasn't, like it doesn't have that same impact because it doesn't change the game. Like, like when you make a move and stuff, you hope it like changes the course of the game. This one doesn't really change the course of the game. It may change, you know, like the lineup a little bit, the order a little bit, but it didn't really shake things up. And now it's like, well, what do we do? Uh, I will also present this to you. Uh, it has been said, in the episode that, um, like Camilla and Kyle were a duo that did something, and Eva and Joe are a duo that didn't really do anything. What are your thoughts on that? I don't think it's fully true, but I think it's something to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it's something for them to tell themselves to feel better. Like they can feel a little better because they think that they're doing these moves, and they did make the move here. But at the end of the day, I still feel like that's just them trying to they're trying to get their pitch ready for Final Tribal Council, and that's what they're going to obviously be going in there with. But I think that at the end of the day, if Kyle is at the end there with Joe, I still think that Joe's been on these votes that have been happening Like he's like so even if Kyle's trying to like take strategic credit, like it needed Joe. He was the one literally at the focal point every single time to be making these moves. So even if Kyle's pitch is a strategic like angle, it's not going to actually work. It's actually going to get blocked.
All right. So, yeah, I think that's the big thing. We don't really know. It is a thing, and like I'm not just talking about this episode. I'm talking about the season as a whole, and I think that's why there's a big perception that Joe is going to win. I don't know if it's just like for me, and I think this is my toxic trait. I'm always someone where I'm like, hear me out. All right, I don't want, like even if it's obvious, let's explore other routes that it might. Um I think we've gotten so much great contact from him that he's a good leader. This episode we got a lot of heart. In the one episode he had zero confessionals, we got to learn about his backstory and a good bonding moment. He had the iconic moment a lot of people consider like I still think regardless of whatever becomes this season, I still think that episode and that moment will always be like a one of my favorite Survivor moments where like Eva was able to overcome her episode, and then Joe was there and was able to like help bring her back after the challenge is over. He has that. He has so many like good moments in there. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like the edit has shown us nothing but great things. And unless they're pulling like the biggest like fallen angel in the history of Survivor or whatever fifth place is, it doesn't seem like it's anyone but Joe.
And the fact that Survivor and Jeff Probst have said that they loved the season before it aired, like, man, if it's not Joe at this point, then that what were they saying? Because like it would feel like a lesser winner. Like even though it's so obvious, and this is the thing, I think the editing just sucks this season. I had a conversation with Jake from the Tribe of Nerds, and he loves the editing this season. I think it's ruined the season. I think that it has done only showing Joe in such a positive light, and everyone else they have like, constantly been finding like little ways to like clearly be like, no, this person can't win. This person doesn't matter as much. It doesn't matter. Joe's the person who needs to win the season, and they just keep doing it every episode, every episode, every episode.
I don't fully agree in the sense of like Joe has had moments where like I would say like he let the paranoia get the best of him. Like the thing is, if Shaheen had the idol and stuff like that, that is something what Joe, like did there, he cued Shaheen that like, hey, you're in danger and stuff like that. And it's like if like he has like made mistakes in this game or he has been manipulated. I don't think, like, I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to be like, I agree with you. I think Joe's going to win this. I'm only here to be like, so we don't have like last week where we only had like a 45-minute episode. You know, I,
Listen,
I want to, I want to say that while it is strong, they have shown some things that was like, okay, this was not the best thing for Joe.
yeah, but even in that negative moment there, you know what they do? They make Shaheen look like an idiot by playing dodo music as he's complaining to everyone about it, and no one is paying him any real minds. And it's just like clearly like yet again, Shaheen's purpose of this season, and it will go down, is that he was used he was the fall guy for every bad thing that Joe and Eva and that group was doing. He's the one who takes the burden of that group's failures. And it all came here where this was, yet again another thing where like should they could have edited this way in a way to make Joe even worse by having, even more people talking shit about him. It really was just like Shaheen's doing this, and everyone's like, oh, and then Camilla's like, oh, look, it's working. Like that's basically like it wasn't even really that negative. It should have been more negative than it could have been. So it's like
Yeah.
they're constantly like softening the edges of anything bad that is happening with Jim. And it's just like it's infuriating at this point. It's like we need a finale to have more than one person in the game, and we've now had 2 seasons in a row where one person is in the game right now. It's not okay. It's bad. It's bad editing.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is something where I wish they would make it a little bit more, like it may sound like I'm grasping at straws. I'm making good points, or I'm making as best points as I can, but I am aware that this has been a problem for this season and last season.
Yeah, you can spruce up a bag of shit, but at the end of the day, if it stinks, it stinks. Like
Listen, I'm a positive person. I'm a positive person. It's my toxic trait.
yeah, yeah, toxic positivity over here.
Oh,
He's a
exactly.
walking embodiment of that.
Save it for the roast.
But yeah,
Um, there
uh,
are there is another interesting thing that, like, when we were watching the episode that you brought up to me, and it's like, and I think this is a collective, like, what the heck is Shaheen wins the challenge. He finally wins the challenge with his arms, no less, not his legs. Um, and he takes Joe. He just takes Joe, and I'm like, are you? Yeah.
yeah,
What?
yeah,
I know he believes that he can beat him at the end, but it's like, why? I will
yeah.
say, I will give him credit. He's the first person in forever that didn't bring Eva, which I don't think is inherently wrong. But like when someone is going back to back, it's like you
Yeah.
need to share the love.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
I thought it was so funny when Eva said my stomach's growling, and it's like Eva, don't say
Right.
that. And then it cuts to Mitch, and it looks like he is suffering so bad.
I'm just like, what do you mean?
Uh, and I think last episode they were like saying Mitch eats all the time. He doesn't need to eat, and Eva like, come on, let's bring you. And it's like, see, it's just a self awareness thing, and maybe they are aware, but they're just like, we gotta take Eva because it'll make us look better on TV. And I think that that's something that is definitely going through some of their minds out there. It's like, because she's not always the first person unless you're like Joe taking her.
Yeah,
She's usually that second or third person that's kind of getting
yeah.
tacked on. Um, so it might just be that you're trying to, everyone like she had that big moment in the early parts of the season, so they know that she's going to get edited to look good. So like bring her along because it makes you look good in doing so.
Well, I understand people from the strong group doing it. Um, Camilla doing it, where I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make as much sense. Um, yeah, but what can you do? But
Yeah,
like it's not even the food even. It's like the good night rest or the very
yeah,
least comfort. Especially like earlier that day it was raining, it was pouring. They were not having fun during that challenge because just imagine doing that challenge and it's windy and it's cold and it's rainy.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. This was I remember this challenge from season 45 where Katura refused to get into the water. That immediately that popped into my mind. That was
Yeah.
everyone this time willing to go in the water.
Do some dives into it too, where
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, they're trying to get style points.
yeah. But yeah, going back to what you said, yeah, shocking taking Joe, big mistake over here. It's a game losing mistake.
I mean, especially because it's the last one too.
Yeah,
Because it's like, you have you have 3 more days of competition. And it's like literally any calorie, any amount of calorie that someone has over someone else is a huge advantage, especially because the coconut supply is low because of Mary, especially because they don't have any rice or anything like that. It's like legit the next 2 challenges now is just purely based on what they've had so far and whatever coconuts they have left.
Yeah, I don't even think we've
So
seen much like fishing going on, so no one's really out there doing that.
no.
So it's just kind of yeah. The fact that this is the last one, definitely big. Kyle does go on it, and he is like in a physical competition, Joe's only competition. But even then, I'd say the odds are like 70% Joe is winning the challenge, and then like a 20% for Kyle, and then like 10% divided amongst the others. Like that's probably how I
I'd
would
give
say it.
some percentages to Eva. Like, come on, I wouldn't count her out.
Yeah, I think that her best stuff was endurance, and I don't know how much endurance happens. Usually around 5 and 4. It's usually a little more. Um, 5 is usually a big obstacle. It is usually a
Yeah,
bigger
and we
challenge.
see that in the preview that it is
Yeah.
an obstacle course. For usually it's usually something that involves concentration or something like that. Sometimes it's emotion. Like they do endurance sometimes, but it is not as I don't remember every single, final immunity challenge, but it is one where they have used it before. Um, but it's not as frequent as it once was.
Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, at least Final Five is going to be a challenge where it's either Joe or Kyle, I'd say. Um, and then 4 is up in the air. But yeah, it's just it doesn't matter if Joe's makes it to 4, and it's game over.
Yeah, I straight up at this point, I think it will be. I kind of want him to break the record,
Yeah,
just because I'm like at least for like with 48 does have some highlights. Granted, a lot of them are pre-jury.
yeah, and that's the problem. That's a
That
big
is the
problem.
that is the problem, and I think
Yeah.
that's a universal thing that everyone can agree on. Like the pre-merge was fire. This one, it was not. Like it's a
Yeah.
common complaint. But like if there is another thing to come out of this season, I'll be like him winning 6 individual immunity challenges. I think that would be, as someone who likes a good calm beast and stuff like that, I think that'd be badass.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe if he gets 6 immunities, maybe that will turn David around. And David would be like, you know what?
Maybe.
I see myself in Joe. He did what I wanted to do, which was win everything. Um,
Yeah.
so who knows?
He drinks chocolate milk too. I can
Yeah,
see it.
yeah. So yeah. At this point, like that better happen, and if it doesn't happen, then it feels like even more of my time got wasted on the season.
Yeah.
I'm just like, please, why did this season have to start getting so bad? It really was. that
We loved it.
pre-merge that
Yeah.
pre-merge was so good. It had so much promise, and then just like it was like slowly seeing it die episode after episode after episode into a point where everyone collectively is just like, we're done. We want to just move on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I do, and I can't emphasize enough, I do like the people that are playing. I just don't like how they've been playing.
I don't like how they've been playing. I don't like how they've been edited, how they're playing. That's a huge one for me. I really think that editing is below par on this one. It feels bad. They need to learn how to edit a dominant winner, because just because they play a dominant game, you got to have hope. You got to have hope somewhere else, and they and I don't maybe they don't even realize that they're losing people's hope, or they don't care that they're like knocking people out,
I
but
think it's
they
a mix. I think it's a mixture
yeah.
I think it's one of the things where, because sometimes they do listen to like different things that the fans, like even though, we also have to, speaking of listening to the fan,
Fucking god, I man
do you guys want idols?
oh
Idols. Even though we were
oh
like, do we want advantages and stuff like, I'm like, I see where you're trying to do, because
It,
some people have said back to basics and stuff like that before. However, I don't think season 50 is a back to basics season.
no.
I don't think you do that milestone there. Or yeah, for that milestone, you could do a back to basics things. The idol has been such a huge, important part for the past up teen years, for a majority of Survivor's history,
Yeah.
that to not have even any idol in the game, I don't want to say is sacrilegious, but I feel like, especially for all the people we're bringing back for 50 seasons of Survivor, would be a disservice to the fans.
Oh, absolutely. It's it's so baffling that they think that this is okay. That Survivor and CBS think that they can tease us by giving us this fan vote, and then the final vote. This is the last thing that we're voting on is idols and being able to use them or not. And it's like that's not okay. That is they may as well ask every Survivor fan to go out back and kick themselves in the nuts over and over again. Like that it is the worst thing that they could have like it is so mind-boggling bad. And the
Yeah,
fact is that this vote is always going to be compared to the second chance vote, which was great. Which actually had impacts. You were voting on players, you were voting on like who you wanted to see on the season. Whereas this is just like it's so much trivial shit. It's colors. It's like very vague things that like no one really cares about. Some of this
yeah.
stuff we're not even really going to see like Rice on a season. Like I'll just be honest, no one really cares. It's just
I'm
like
like, all right. The thing is they all are on equal footing no matter what. So it doesn't. I will say the one thing, the only other thing that was on there that was like semi impactful is like what kind of advantages, where they're like, oh, something that you still need to use some brain power for, oh, something that completely can switch the game up, stuff like that. I feel like that's the only
that's
like,
it's so vague. It is like it gave
it's
us
vague, yes.
some little things, and we have no idea what the fuck they were talking about when that was happening. So the thing that seemed like it has the biggest impact, we don't even know what the fuck we were voting for. Like what do you mean? Survivor. This is the dumbest thing ever. Someone needs to fucking go take Survivor 101 on production. Okay, production doesn't even know what the fuck Survivor is anymore because they're fucking ruining it. Like
I don't want.
we could have had a legit, really good like vote things. We could have had, like how is vote on more challenge? I think challenges is something that like we had one thing which was like I think the final four challenge rights. Was that
Yeah.
something? Yeah, let us have more of those. Like at least if you're going to like give us nothing, give us something like that that feels like we're actually impacting. And when we get to that challenge, they can say this was voted on by the fans. So
Yeah.
far, it's just like all this stuff doesn't matter. We're not really going to see a lot of this. It's going to make a little confessional at some point where someone's like, "The fans gave us rice," or "The fans didn't give us rice." Like that's
Yeah.
what we're going to get.
It's yeah, I think it was a cool idea, but the execution was not great. I don't fully agree with Joe's very heated thing if CBS watches this. But it's like it was not,
Learn
the
what people
execution
want.
of it was not good. We for fans, it's like we kind of see it's the illusion of choice, where it's like you guys voted. It was like, yeah, but it's between something that I don't think a lot of people would want versus something that I think a lot of people would want. It's like,
Yeah. But this is the thing. I think there's herd mentality in this voting. I think people right now are voting for the thing that they haven't seen before in seasons. We're going to have people voting for no idols. And we're going to have season 50 potentially where no idols are happening. And it's going to be this season, but
I
even
don't think
worse.
I don't think they're gonna do no idols. I feel like that's something where the people that are gonna vote are going to vote for idols. I
I
feel
hope I voted for idols because I want to make sure. I'm like, don't you fucking dare. like ruin the season, Survivor. Don't fucking ruin this. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I I know, Joe. Kumbaya, Milo.
no, stop it with your toxic positivity.
I feel like that's the title of this episode. Toxic positivity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you need it to get through the season. So,
Yeah, I need to get through life,
I
Jerry.
this is a season, by the way. If we weren't doing this, I would stop watching. I would have stopped watching the season. It
I don't think I can, but I can't. I don't think like it's for me. It's like, am I gonna rewatch it? Unless I'm watching all the thing is like it's tough for me as a person unless there is like yeah, it's tough for me to rewatch stuff. But it's like, if I were to so I think the only basis of like if I was getting someone into Survivor and this was going to be our thing, would I be like, would this be a starter season? Would this be like a mid-season? Or like would this be a starter season? It was like midway through or like I don't know. It's like I wouldn't consider this would not be the first thing I show someone. I don't think it would be one of the first 10 seasons I would show someone. Um, but yeah.
not even in the top 30 for me. If I gotta choose someone's list, it's not even making top 30. Top
Uh,
40, top 40 might be. Yeah.
we love you, Joe. All right. So, do we want to go to confessional counts? Because it doesn't seem like there's much else we can say about the episode.
Um. Yeah. I guess let's just get into it. I will say this.
Because we value screen time on this channel.
Yes. Okay. So there are now 5 people left in this game. I will say Shaheen broke the say scale. He got 55 confessionals at the end of this, so he got it. There is only one person now who has not surpassed the say scale. Only one person. Um, but
Camilla,
no, going.
Mitch,
Let me get to it. In the number one spot, we got Kyle at 77 confessionals. He had 13 this episode.
makes sense.
Second, we have Eva at 65 confessionals.
Okay.
Third, we got Camilla at 59 confessionals.
All right.
Joe is fourth at 55 confessionals. And then Mitch is at 44.
Yeah. So going into the finale, that does not bode well for Mitch.
He needs to get 9 confessionals in the final episodes to tie the say scale 10 to surpass.
Well, I mean, like, I think the thing is, it's like, it's not even the say scale. It's just more so, it's like,
Yeah.
straight up, like, your chances of winning. If you're the person with the least amount of, confessionals, there's only a handful of winners where that was the case going into finale.
Yeah. Yeah, he also only got 2 confessionals this episode. So
yeah,
if you're
I
the
mean,
winner penultimate episode, you're not getting a low confessional count. You're getting one of the higher confessional counts.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is interesting to see that Joe is the second from lowest. But like I said, I feel like he doesn't need it. Everything else he's been getting has been good. And even like and I think you put it best, even when he's had bad moments, they've dulled the edges of it. So I think, yeah, I think it's like he doesn't need as much screen time because like he's already doing so good with what he has.
Yeah. And like other people are talking about Joe winning the season. So even though it says 55 there, if you look at like confessionals about Joe, like he's probably like the front runner of confessionals about Joe. And
Yeah.
the fact that he's had like his backstory stuff going on, which I guess we didn't talk about that about the like his sister and like why he's out there. Like
Yeah,
we got that this episode. We haven't really got to that yet. So yet again, another great moment for Joe of this like the whole he had that moment on the beach also, which was really impactful. Definitely,
it is impactful, and I think it's an important thing too, because like like some people go on Survivor and like they have these things and like, on the island and stuff like that, when you're going through the worst thing ever, you do look back at, your life as a whole, and especially right after the loved ones with the letters and everything. And like he was thinking about his father because he was no longer with him, and all this stuff. It did bring back his sister, and then like like the day after, he's like letting go of that pain, or like talking to her about it, because obviously if you have a bad phone call before you know someone goes away, or like that's the last thing that hits. I can't imagine like the amount of pain you go through when something like that happens.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And, another great reason why it's great that Joe's winning the season. Like, I love him. He's a great guy. I was rooting for him early on. Like very early on, I was like, "This is my guy." I'm putting my eggs in the Joe basket in episode one, and I've been right. And man, I wish I was wrong. Like there's been times where I really wish that at least I wish that his road to winning the season was just more interesting. That's the problem. It's very straightforward and boring and like just it's a slog. It's like it's not exciting gameplay. We're in the era of big moves, and I know sometimes making big moves too early is bad, and I agree. Like I roasted Genevieve for making a big move at 10 when clearly she shouldn't have made that move. Then she should have waited a few moves down the line. But like they, what really started pushing me over the edge was like especially at final 7 and 8, and when like you have these moves against Joe and Eva, and it just like they talk about it. Like you can tell that everyone on the season knows what they should do and don't do it. They just ignore it. They just say, "Nah, let's do this other plan. That's just worse. That's just objectively worse." And they know it seems like they know it's
Yeah.
worse, but they just kind of go, I guess we'll do that though.
It's like the two memes that come to mind, and I send you one of them. It's the one with Man Ray and Patrick Star, where they're like, "Hey, yeah, he's finally vulnerable, so that means it's the main thing, like he's finally vulnerable, he will win." And then Patrick's agreeing, and then he's like, "So that means we should take out Joe," and he's like, "No, we're just gonna take out Mary instead." And the other one is like, so it's like the Captain America one where Sam Wilson's like, are you going to make a move? And we see old Steve Rogers where he's like, no, no, I don't think I will.
Yeah, I saw also Mike Bloom did a post on X, which was like it was the Pawn Star guys, the two of them, and then it's like fans
Mhm.
saying we want Joe or Eva to go, and then Survivor 48. Best I can do is Kyle and Camilla trickling them into voting out their closest ally. Like just
Yeah.
that's the best we can do. But it's like, uh,
Eh,
you could have taken a better deal. You could have. There's a better deal on the table that someone wouldn't have seen coming and didn't do it. So
yeah. Um, all right. I think MVP, LVP. MVP, I will give to Kyle. LVP, what about you?
no one's getting MVP.
LVP. Um, LVP, I'd say it's tough.
You want me to go with mine?
Sure, Joe.
My LVP is the editing team of Survivor.
LVP is the fans that had to vote on whether or not they had idols or not. Especially, it's like you could have given us a couple more things. I know
Yeah,
that's like what you presented as the biggest thing, and I'm like, yeah, but no.
yeah.
I mean, like, opening challenge would have been cool. Like, all right, do you want to do like the classic one where they did in season one, or do you want to do something like a bit more modern? Um, it's like, like stuff like that, or, you know, I don't know.
I know they
It
wouldn't do
was
it,
just
but
like,
I would have loved the locations. Like even if it's just like one season, we'll go somewhere else. So it would have been cool to have some kind of locations going on because at least
I think we're long past the location thing, because
yeah.
they set up everything for Fiji. Um, it just makes sense to just have it there, especially like even though Survivor is still going strong, it's still, having to deal with budgets and stuff like that. And it is like in the constraints of budgets. And so
Well, I
it
know they
just makes more
signed.
sense.
Yeah, they have a contract with the Fijian government to like basically be there. And I mean, I've heard that they've thrown out the idea of going to other locations. So they are, it's in their minds. It's just like the question of do they pull the trigger? Um,
I don't
and
think they do.
I agree, it's not likely, but after so many, seasons in BG, it really does start to get to a point where seasons have trouble standing out. Like so many of those older seasons, the reasons we remember it like immediately is because the locations are very different and distinct.
Yeah.
And you got interesting places to do confessionals. We've seen the same locations they do confessionals every season. We see where they hide idols. Like we literally like you can tell what beats they are just based off of like a few screenshots now because we've just seen
Yeah.
it so much.
I do think a thing too is like, and I think this is more of a new era problem, is back then they would have themes to help differentiate.
Yeah,
This one, they just have a number.
yeah,
And so like it's harder to differentiate a couple because, oh, this, and this, especially when they recycle the same color schemes. The only different thing is maybe the color of the buff, but that's about it.
yeah.
Of the merge buff.
Yeah, yeah. People usually now just like they'll remember a player or two of a season, and like for a casual fan, that's it. They don't remember what season number they're on because a lot of times it's just like, why? How would you remember that unless you're like a super fan who is podcasting every season? Like not
Yeah,
everyone is able to be able to actually keep up with that because it's just not unique.
exactly. All
Okay,
right,
I think this
so
was a very positive episode.
yeah, a
Toxic
little
positivity. Yeah.
toxic positivity. Um, we're gonna make t-shirts.
Yeah.
I keep saying I need like a bunch of different for some of the dumb shirts. But yeah, obviously we have one more episode. We both
Thank God.
agree that it's probably gonna be Joe. I gave my pieces of the hear me outs, and I'm just like presenting the options. I'm not saying that I fully believe them at all.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, but after that, we will have our brand seals, and we will have we have some fun ideas for that.
Mhm.
We're gonna have some news come the finale, so stay out for that. I think it's gonna be a doozy, and like
Yeah.
I think you guys might wanna see what it is.
Definitely, definitely. So something to look forward to besides not having to watch the season anymore after that. So it's gonna be good. We're gonna have a lot of fun here. And uh yeah, I feel like I feel like I was gonna say something and now I forgot what it was. I
You're
love when
not
I do
chaotic.
this. I'm not chaotic. That's a truth.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think we'll see you all next time. Enjoy the weekend and have fun.
Okay. We will see you in the next one.
Peace.